Again, I am Francene Anderson, Educational Chair for PWRG and the Walnut Creek chapter as well. My business is Vision Forward Personal and Professional Coaching. And today, you will learn why building relationships is key to receiving referrals, how to create your business story, clarify your ideal clients and customer, and find your business niche. In addition, these three amazing sister PWRG boss babes will share how to give and receive full circle referrals, how you must include your ask in your introduction and presentation, and why one-on-ones are key to building and generating more inside and outside referrals. You'll hear, first of all, 45-minute presentations, 10 to 15 from each person, probably more like 10, with a little transition. And that will bring us up to about 45 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions. Feel free to put questions in the chat. And if you have to run, we understand. Again, Zoom etiquette, please close out your video if you need to come and go out of the screen so you're not distracting the speaker, and leave yourself on mute. So besides our presenters today, we have Carolyn Lee of Carolyn J. Lee Executive Business Coaching. Wave, Carolyn, if you would. She is the Lamorinda Chapter Educational Chair, and she'll be working behind the scenes today, handling the chat, the feedback, and the questions. So she'll be able to handle that at the end. All right. So starting us off today is Diane Covington. Diane is a very successful Pink Cadillac winning Executive Senior Director with Mary Kay. She's the Concord PWRG Educational Co-Chair, and she's been part of the Concord Chamber as a superstar for 17 years. So start us off, Diane. We can hardly wait.
Great, Francine. Thank you so much for the introduction. Do we want to change it to speaker view or not? Does that help? I didn't know for the recording if that was a big deal or not. Okay, so I'm going to get started. What I'm going to share with you guys today is three key things. One is how to develop relationships and the importance of relationships beyond just your regular weekly or monthly meeting. Also, a difference between a lead versus a referral and the importance of working full circle. So one of the things I want to talk to you guys about is the importance of developing a relationship and how that literally will impact not only how many referrals you get, but the quality of the referrals. So in 2018, there was a study done by the Journalism of Social and Personal Relationships. And what it found was that it takes 50 hours of interaction with somebody to move that person from an acquaintance to a casual friend. And it takes 90 hours to become, quote, a real friend. 200 hours to become a close friend. Well, in this study, what they found was that at the 90-hour mark, they received a lot more referrals from people who knew them less. So I think at the 90 hours, kind of this benchmark where you really have a closer relationship and you know that person better. Now, what's interesting is that when they've interacted with somebody for 200 hours, they, at that point, know each other so well that they were generating an average of 5 times more referrals. So sometimes you'll hear about people being in a PWRG or a networking group, or they've known each other for years, 5 or 6 or 7 years, and the amount of referrals they give back and forth is unbelievable. And it's because of the relationship they've developed. So if you can imagine, if you don't do any one-on-ones and your group meets twice a month, it's going to take you almost 4 years of attending meetings to reach that 90-hour status. So that's why one-to-ones are really, really critical. Spending time outside of your regular PWRG meeting is going to be absolutely vital. Okay, so fellow networkers also need to gain confidence that referring people to you is not going to hurt their reputation. So when my parents were elderly, because I did the whole board and care and independent living and all that, a lot of my friends that were having been aging parents knew I had been through that with my parents. So they would come to me and say, who do you know or who do you recommend? So sometimes you have to want to develop those relationships so people will come to you because I always make sure that whoever I'm referring business to, I know personally and professionally, right? So you really want to gain confidence so that when you're referring people, you don't have to worry about your reputation as well. Now, another survey was done by Dr. Meisler, who was the founder of BNI. He studied 12,000 business people, and he showed that when they focused on relationships first and on business second, they scored much higher in success on referrals than when they focus on business first and then relationships. So again, it's spending time outside of your PWRG meeting that's going to make a huge, huge difference. So let's briefly talk a little bit about the difference between a lead and a referral. So a lead is a contact that's generally not expecting your call. Okay, so for example, if someone gave an insurance agent a whole list of people who just bought new homes, that might be considered a good source of leads. But those leads are not really expecting a call from the insurance person. So it's kind of almost like a cold call. But a referral is the opportunity to do business with someone in the market that's ready for their service or their product. So when you contact them, they already know who you are and what you do. All right. So when somebody gives me a referral and they're saying, oh my gosh, my mom is telling me she needs help with her skin, or my daughter needs help with her skin. Here's her name and number. I'll let her know you're calling. They're letting that person know that I will be contacting that person. Does that make sense? So it's really, really important that when you're giving a referral, both parties know. You generally want to have a conversation with the person that you are giving as the referral. So let me give you a quick example. One of my best friends lost over 85 pounds. She's always worn really, really nice clothes and was thrilled that none of them fit her anymore, but also bummed because all of her really expensive clothes didn't fit her anymore. And I said to her, I know an incredibly talented seamstress that I would really highly recommend, because I also had this seamstress, not only in our PWRG group, but she'd also altered some of my clothing. And I said, would you like her info? And my girlfriend said, absolutely. So then I said, would it be okay if I had the seamstress call you? She goes, no, I'll call her right away. So it was one of those things where she didn't really want to be contacted yet. 2 days later, I contacted the seamstress and I said, hey, my girlfriend might be calling you. And she says, oh, she already called yesterday. She's coming over tonight and with a whole bunch of clothes. So then I followed up. So again, that's important. So this brings me to my last topic, which is working full circle. If I had reached out to Lorena, who does the alterations, and she said, I have not heard from your friend, then I would have contacted my friend Tess back and said, hey, are you going to reach out to Lorena, or are you so busy you'd rather have her call you? So because Lorena had already heard from her, we were good. After a few days, though, I did call my friend back and I say, what did you think of Lorena? Again, this is working full circle. And she says, I was absolutely thrilled that she's going to alter all my clothes. I'm super excited with the price. And again, about 2 weeks later, I checked it with my friend and she was thrilled with everything. And Lorena called me and said, thank you for that amazing referral. She's brought over 20 pieces of clothing to me to be taken care of. So it just goes to show you working full circle is important. But what if the client that I had contacted, so let's say a week or two later, my girlfriend Tess still has not reached out to Lorena. Then at that point I say, Tess, obviously you're busy. Can I have Lorena call you, or would you prefer an email or a text? And she might say, oh, just have her text me, I'm busy. In which case then, again, you're giving that name and number to that person. So working full circle is really important. I also found, what if the client that contacted them didn't ever follow back up? So I actually had this happen about 2 years ago. Before I was in my PWRG group, a friend of mine was complaining, a gentleman, that his interest rate was too high in his mortgage. And I said, well, why don't you consider getting it refinanced? And he goes, I just don't know anybody good. I said, I know somebody. And I referred him to her. She since left 3 messages for him and he never called her back. Now that's not like him. So I reached out to him and said, are you not going to refinance the thing in Hawaii, or what's the deal? And he goes, no, I've been super busy. Have her call me again. So again, it's closing that loop so that you've got that full circle. Those kind of that makes you more referable, makes them trust you on both ends, the customer and the referral. So I'm hoping that you got 3 great takeaways: the time that it takes to develop relationships and how important time is outside your PWRG meeting, whether it be a mixer, a one-to-one, that time together, the difference between a lead versus a referral, and the importance of working full circle and following up.
Wow. Excellent. Thank you so much, Diane. So again, the time, I mean, how many of us have said, oh my gosh, I've gone, to 7 meetings and I haven't gotten a referral or whatever it is. So time investment into relationships. A lead versus a referral. We are not a leads group. We are a referral group. So when it's the I have section, we give referrals, not leads. And then working full circle, tie the knot, go full circle with the giving and the receiving. Thank you so much. All right. So next in our lineup of Super Boss Babes, we are going to hear from the amazing Elsa Kitts. Elsa's a sales manager of American Print, and she's also the education chair of the San Ramon chapter of PWRG. And Elsa is a 3rd generation printer and has been providing printing for 30 years. Oh my gosh. All right, take it away, Elsa.
Thanks, Francene, and hi, everyone. Diane, I just wanted to point out, I loved your comment about working a referral full circle. I wrote down all kinds of notes while you were doing that because it is really important. So thank you for that. So I have been in a client-facing role since I started my first job working in a flower shop in San Mateo the day after I turned 16. I like helping people, so that naturally led me into sales. After the flower shop, I worked at Nordstrom's, and working for Nordstrom's, you really get that built-in sense of customer service. And of course, then being 3rd generation in print, I ended up working with my father and my grandfather in our print shop in the city. Here I am, yes, Francene, 30 years later. But I never had any formal sales training. And a few years ago, I felt that it was maybe time to change that and learn a few new skills. For me, LinkedIn is a resource that I turn to often. And if you ever go there, there's a bunch of sales coaches and a network of them. And through that, I found Joanne Black and her No More Cold Calling program. It's a program designed around referral selling. The premise being that warm selling is so much more effective than, the numbers game of cold calling and just cold calling, cold reach out is hard. Who wants to do that? So in that program, she started with having me identify my story. Now, as I mentioned, this was a few years ago. Now we all know that, or hopefully we know that you have to have a story if you're in sales. But I didn't have a story, and that seemed really intimidating to me. And she taught me that all good sales and relationships start with that story, and you have to put yours together. And the way you started, how she taught me, was identify your priorities. What are your personal and your business goals? And of course, whenever you're setting goals, you want to stretch outside of your comfort zone, and you want to be willing to adapt your goals as circumstances warrant, like hello this year, right? When you think about your priorities, what motivates you? Is it money? Do you want to make more money? Or are you motivated more by a more flexible schedule? What is going to make you happy? Because if you're happy, you can sell more. The next part of your story is the what. What do you do? And that what is not your product. It's what your product does for your client. Always frame things as what you're going to do for them, not what your product is, and highlight the product. Highlight what your product does for your client. We have to provide that link for a client, connect all those dots. And our story can also include things like what's unusual about what you do or interesting. Try to make your story compelling. Do you do something that's funny? Do you have an exciting story? Or maybe something dramatic happened with a particular order and some scenario that you can use to illustrate what you do and how you help. Or maybe it's a funny story you have regarding a client and a sales relationship. So once you've got your priority and you've learned a little bit about how to differentiate yourself, then you need to start identifying who is your ideal client. You need to frame your story to include them. You want to think about what industry are your clients in? What size company do they work for? What departments? What type of person? Because we all want to avoid the sort of pain in the ass clients. Oops, we're recording. Sorry, I meant to edit that out and it just came out of my mouth. But we all do better when we're working with clients that we like as opposed to clients we don't like. Now, I'm in printing, and you guys know that you can probably go online to a variety of online vendors and order your postcards. You can walk into FedEx for that matter and order printing. Those clients aren't who I seek out. They're not the clients that I work with typically. My clients are in corporate marketing departments, such as trade show and events, channel marketing, and they attend shows like Dreamforce and VMware, and they put together their own large corporate events. So these events host thousands of people over several days and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. For any of us who have ever planned a wedding, you know how much work goes into hosting a single day event for 100 to 300 people. There's a ton of little pieces that get put together. Well, imagine a multi-day event and everything that goes into it. It's known that event managers have one of the most stressful jobs there is. They're usually ranked around number 5 in the stressful job thing rankings. They deal with deadline after deadline, multiple vendors, and tons of moving pieces. So printing is just one of the items that needs to arrive on time, and it's got to look good. It's going to be perfect. It's also usually one of the last items that gets produced right before an event because, of course, all the different people who are all the project managers, product managers, everybody wants to make sure that they're getting the latest and greatest represented in their printed material. And it goes through rounds and rounds of reviews and edits. So by the time I get it to print, sometimes the show's starting in 2 days, and it's across the country. So here's where I come in. I love working under pressure. I have a ton of energy, and I know how to make people feel calmer and under control while all this craziness is going around. I take the printing part of their project, and I take it off their list. I become their project manager. It's one less thing to worry about. I will take their printed material, whether it's the flyers that need to be there, the brochures, or it's the large hanging banners, the roll-up, pull-up banner stands. I get them produced, and I make sure they arrive on time and they look good. And then for my non-event manager clients, the people who just need to make sure that their company has beautiful collateral, consistently printed colors, and at a good value, well, I've got them covered as well. So a lot of people don't know the technicalities of print, and they don't care to learn. So they can lean into my knowledge base and know that I will take care of them. I'll pick the right paper stock and the finishing items so their final product is exactly what they envisioned. That's my story. I take care of my clients, and I've taken care of many of the same clients for years and years. I've got them. I've got their back. I'll take care of them. So once now you've got your story, you've put it all together with these pieces, it's time to ask for referrals. So usually after you deliver an order, a product, whatever it is that you do, your client will thank you. Thanks for the great job. You saved me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's when you want to ask for a referral. And I like to do a little bit of research. Again, going back to LinkedIn. I will find other event managers that my client or marketing managers, whoever it is, people that they're connected to on LinkedIn. And I'll ask them, hey, I saw you're connected to blah, blah on LinkedIn. Do you know that person well? Because I would love a referral from you. I'd love to check in with them, see if I can do the same thing for them that I'm doing for you. So I like to do the research for my clients. So instead of just asking for a referral, I've got 1 or 2 people in mind targeted. Hey, do you know them? Would you be comfortable referring me to them? That takes the work out of it for my client. You can even go so far. I do like email introductions as well in my industry. So you can actually go so far as to, I've actually had clients ask me, hey, can you put together a template? Yes, I'd love to, but I'm just totally busy. I'll say, hey, look, I'll just put together a little paragraph. I'll send it to you. If you're happy, use that. Send it to me send it to this person introducing me. That's worked a few times. I like that. So anyway, to wrap things up, in the whole process of referral selling, make sure you put together your story. You want to make sure you know what it is that you want in business out of your day job or your side job. You want to make sure you know who you want to work with, and you want to take that information and put it all together and construct your story. And that's what I've got.
Great. Thank you, Elsa. You know, the part that I really love, especially I heard this when she was practicing, we did a practice, is that at the point of sale, asking at that time when you have the happy customer for a referral. And she does the research ahead of time to see the kind of orbit that this customer is in. Who are her customers? And out of those customers, who might be able to use her services? So you're really helping your customer along, jogging her memory that she just is real excited with what you just did, and who in her orbit could use the service or the product. So I love that. Thank you so much, Elsa. Okay, and remember guys, put questions in the chat box because that's a nice thing to do. It'll help the conversation at the end. Okay, so our next presenter is, and this is our last presenter, is Christine Sevier. And I love it because I take a French class and I get to say her name. She's a senior living advisor with Creating Hope Senior Living Services, a senior living referral service that provides pre-screened options for your family members. Christine is the co-educational chair of the San Ramon chapter. Take it away, Christine.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. So I'm going to drive home 3 points today. The first one is refining and sharpening your presentation, being specific with your ask, and then I'm going to talk about inside and outside referrals. So most of you heard the presenter give my introduction, and I will say 9 out of 10 ladies in the room probably have no idea what I do. The referral and placement industry is very young. In fact, we've just created a national certification association this year. So I've personally had to work really, really hard at sharpening the point and refining my presentation and how to communicate my value proposition while being very specific at what Creating New Hope does. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about refining and sharpening your presentations. Think back on previous presentations that you've seen or heard in networking events. Was it a data dump? Was it so boring that your head wanted to explode? Was the speaker giving you a ton of details about how they do their job? Were they using industry-specific jargon? Were they talking too much or not creating a space for dialogue? I have personally spent a lot of time doing that and explaining to families how they needed to check citations and records of assisted living facilities, explaining what a type A citation, what a personal violation, rights violation was, etc., etc. I was doing too much of the how and way too much jargon. Do not do that, ladies. You really need to sit down and write out and take the time to write out a few presentations, a few asks, and what I call marketing moments, where you need to identify who you are, who you help, and your why. Practice it, memorize it, and connect it to some type of emotion. Ladies, we cannot wing it anymore. No more winging it. A poorly written out and not well thought out presentation will leave your audience feeling unmoved, unimpressed, and you may not come off as an expert in your field. So I'm going to show you an example of a bad and dry and emotionless presentation and ask. My name is Christine Sevier with Creating New Hope. I provide placement services to residential care homes and assisted living. If you know someone, let me know. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Here is, and here's the thing. In my business, I would say about 75% of the people aren't going to go to assisted living. And a lot of times people are only contacting me once there is an emergency and a trigger. So that does not work when I just say, oh, I provide assisted living referral. No, don't do that. So here is how I have learned how to communicate my value proposition. When I'm introduced to someone, I say, oh, I help people navigate through some of the most difficult times in their life. I help them make smarter choices so they can sleep soundly and know that their loved ones' physical needs are taken care of. If you ever come across someone who's struggling or struggling with managing their parents' or grandparents' care due to dementia, I can help with that. My name's Christine Sevier. I'm the founder of Creating New Hope. And they're like, oh, Wow. So can you tell me more about that? And that opens up the dialogue. The more specific you can be with yourself, your own goals, the easier it will be for you to share those goals with your referral partners. And most importantly, the easier it will be for your referral partners to keep you on top of their mind when they're out there in the community. So let's talk about being specific and consistent with your ask. Stick to your same ask in your referral groups all month long, so your referral partners will know who would be an ideal client or an introduction for you. So be specific. So when I say specific, I mean granular. Be very specific. So here's some examples of what I have used in the past. This month, I'm looking for an introduction to the discharge planner at Valley Care Hospital in Pleasanton. Now, when I say granular, I mean it's specific. You're looking for that specific introduction. This month, I'm looking to meet 2 families who would benefit from a complimentary consultation on creating a care plan for their loved one who has dementia. This month, I'm looking for an introduction to a family, friend, or coworker who is struggling with their caregivers. Maybe they're not showing up on time. Maybe the agency is sending new people each week. Maybe the cost is getting too expensive. This is exactly where I can come in and help that family get connected to some great providers. After all, Creating New Hope is a free referral service providing families with pre-screened care options they can feel good about. You see the difference, the tone there and the feeling. So this last example is a perfect segue to talk about inside and outside referrals. Just a few tips. Look beyond your PWRG network. Expand your horizons. You want to help your chapter members with their business as well. So teach your referral partners to listen out for those specific golden nuggets. For example, anytime I'm working one-on-one with one of my referral partners in the group, and maybe their parents are young and still living on their own, but they may know somebody who may need my service or need the service of another provider in my group. So I'll say, and you're out running around this week, think of me if you hear, oh man, my insurance premiums went up. I can totally connect them with an insurance person. Oh, I'm concerned about my property values. You can easily connect them with the realtor in the group to run some comps. Oh, I'm worried about how the election is going to affect my taxes. You can easily connect them with a tax person in the group. And in my case, if a friend of yours is feeling stressed out with taking care of their parents, if their loved one has had a bad fall this week, that's a perfect example of something that they should be listening for when they're looking for a senior living advisor. And I always like to carry my chapter roster with me, or like a 1-page of maybe what folks do. Take notes on what your referral partners do and how they can bridge the gap to some of your loved ones, your people at the gym, anyone in your outside influence. And you always want to make sure you provide that warm introduction to those outside referrals. And remember to refine your presentation, be specific with your ask, and listen out for those golden nuggets of all of your chapter members and really refine what yours are. And that's pretty much all I have for you.
Super. Thank you so much, Christine. Yes, you can, applaud everybody in your box. Christine has to run and pick up her son. So if you have a question for her, her info is in the chat box and you can email her directly. But I do want to point out before she leaves is that I love the specificity of your ask, how important that is to ask all month for something specific, because we don't always listen. We're busy, our minds, running around. So we get better with knowing what referral our sister members need. And then the importance of the inside referrals are people giving referrals within the group, yourself, referring yourself. But outside referrals lead on to others. And outside referrals are so important. So she brought up that important part. And then carrying around the roster with you. Or, of course, your little booklet with everybody's